Thank you so much for coming here. This is actually our first panel that we're having for MapleStory. It's a pretty small crowd, but we wanted to keep it to really dedicated Maplers that came out all the way here for this MapleStory meetup. Joining me here actually today, we invited a lot of special guests. We have Sean over here, who is our voice actor for male Cadena. We also have Zero by Divide, who is a very big MapleStory streamer and YouTuber. And we have Misusing TV / Matt over here, also a really big streamer. And I believe you also are pretty big on YouTube as well. And last but not least, we have Nick Soy Sauce. And he is also pretty big on stream and on YouTube as well. OK, so I'm going to go ahead and let these guys introduce themselves to everyone. And after that, if you guys have any questions, you guys are more than welcome to ask them away.
Hello, my name is Sean Chiplock. As you've just learned, I am not very big on Twitch or on YouTube. However, I am a professional voiceover artist. I've been living in California for just over 5 years now. As this panel will reveal, I can now announce that I voice Cadena, the male option, in MapleStory. Prior to that, I've also been in some other large games such as Rivali, Teba and Deku Tree in The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, Mishima Yuki in Persona 5, and Monotaro in the newly released Danganronpa V3. So I'm not as active on MapleStory anymore as I used to be, but Yvonne will always be very near and dear to my heart because pets are awesome, dragon pets are even more awesome. Yeah, you got yours.
Hi, I'm Zong, also known as Zero by Divide. As always said, I am a YouTuber and streamer. Origin story, I started off YouTube in 2013. I just wanted to make videos for fun. I uploaded like a Zachem solo, just for fun. I didn't really think much of it. I think I got like 100 views. I was very happy. I didn't really do much on YouTube. I started getting more attention when I started racing to 250. I am currently rank 2 in GMS. So as soon as I hit the top 5, because you see the top 5 when you log in, yeah, I started to pick up subscribers, and yeah, that's how I snowballed my way to where I am now. Yeah.
All right, my name is Matt, also known as Misusing TV on Twitch and YouTube. Started as well in 2013. And I primarily took off streaming because I like Twitch. It offers a more direct interaction with your audience instead of YouTube comments, which it takes people time to reply, and then you kind of forget the conversation sometimes or like the mood. So I started on YouTube from actually getting shout outs from a buddy of mine, Gift Maple. His name is Duvar. And at the time, I was also playing World of Warcraft. I watched a lot of WoW streamers. I wanted to check out who was streaming MapleStory, and that kind of got me into it. I saw how other people streamed and how they interacted, and I wanted to thrive off of that. I wanted that for myself, so I just gave it a shot, and here I am.
All right. So hello, I'm Chuck, also known as Nick Soy Sauce. I played MapleStory since 2005 when I started with my friends back in high school. I was originally a bishop for 5.5 years before I moved on to mechanic, and I've been maining mechanic ever since for about 6.5 years now. I started on Twitch watching just a lot of fighting game streamers, actually, tournaments usually. And then I got curious about MapleStory because I was thinking, is there anyone streaming MapleStory right now? And then I was like, yeah, I could totally do it because I didn't know OBS was free. I was like, all right, if it's free, I'm going to try to stream it and see where it goes, right? When there was like Unleash patch and when they rose the level cap from 200 to 250, I wasn't actually going to race until I felt like there were other mechanics on my tail for the #1 rank, right? So every day I would stream just myself training at either Hall of Honor or second drill hall, and it just built up from there. And eventually I would start up a guild, trying to get a community for bossing, and pretty much rep to bro for like the longest time until this year.
So before I actually give the floor to the audience to ask you guys questions, I actually have a question for each each of you prepared. So first to you, Sean. I actually have a question about anyone that's interested into getting into voice acting. What exactly was the first step that you took that enabled this whole world to you?
So that's actually a really, really difficult question to answer, and not because it's the main reason is because there are foundations that successful people or successful actors, successful people in general can embody that will help them to find success. But everyone's path is going to be different in so many ways. For example, I personally, my first step in the industry was actually winning a voiceover amateur competition in 2009 at Anime Expo, which kind of put me on the map of the company that hosted it, Bang Zoom. But it was still another 3 years for me to finish college before I moved out to California. So for me, that competition was my first in with the industry. For some people, it may be connections within their circle of friends. For some people, it may be just living in the area. There's a lot of YouTubers that ended up joining the union because they got involved in union projects. So it really boils down to your question being people who wanted to get into the industry. Really just understanding what areas you want to get into and then making sure your skills are up to scratch. If you want to get into Western animation, you need to watch Western cartoons and figure out what kind of styles they're going for, the kinds of performances that you hear over and over and over again. Especially with Japanese video games, there's a lot of character archetypes. Japan is very big on character stereotypes and archetypes. So you want to learn what those archetypes are and hone your skills in those. For online games, if you want to voice in something like MapleStory, there's going to be a lot of battle chatter, a lot of dialogue, a lot of calling out attacks, so you need to work on your breath control. So the very, very core that I would suggest to people who are looking to get into acting is to do your research and look into articles, blogs, posts, info, podcasts by all of these veterans who have made them available online. There has never been an easier time to look up all of this information online. The main three that I give are the Voice Acting Mastery podcast by Crispin Freeman, which has dozens upon dozens of episodes about all facets of the industry. The website iwanttobeavoiceactor.com, made by D. Bradley Baker, where he covers everything from the basics to getting an agent to working on your demo. And then just getting in practice, I frequent a site called voiceactingclub.com, which is currently one of the most active amateur voice acting websites because unlike a lot of other skill sets, you can only get better at acting by practicing it. So the best way to learn isn't just by researching, it's also by doing.
I also have a question for, can I call you Zong? Or, okay. Sure. I also have a question for Zong. I noticed that you said that one of your quirks that really makes your channel, that really blew it up, was the fact that you were top 5, 250.
Yes.
Would you say that if this weren't the case, that your channel wouldn't have blown up to its current status?
I think at the start, because most of my content was just me posting the occasional boss run, and then whenever I would level up, I would just update my channel. Those were pretty much the only videos that I made. I didn't really make any guides or anything like that. So I don't think if I wasn't on the top 5, I don't think I would be here today.
So I have a follow-up question of that too.
Okay.
Would you say that it's really important for anyone who is getting into the content creator scene to have something that distinguishes them outside of the content that they create?
Sorry, can you repeat the question?
So pretty much, it sounds like each channel needs to have a special quirk that separates them from the rest. Would you say that the content that you create can't really hold on its own, and you need to have like some secondary like quirk that really makes your channel special?
I think there's 2 main factors to being a successful content creator. One, you need to be good at the game, or you have to have a likable or funny personality. If you have both, then even better.
Do you have both?
I'd like to think so, but.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, next question. Actually, I have a question. Actually, I noticed that when you brought up Twitch and YouTube, you made a comparison, misusing TV, or can I claim Matt?
Yes.
Yeah. You made a comparison between the two, saying that one is actually easier to interact with your audience as opposed to the other, where YouTube comments, conversations get lost in the comments, but on Twitch, you can actually have more, direct conversations with your audience. would you say that this is the reason why you decided to just go on Twitch, or are there other reasons outside of just that?
Yeah, I would say that is the main reason, because again, just that direct interaction really helps you as it develops your you as a person, being able to communicate. Like, you're not face to face, but you're able to communicate with other people and develop that kind of skill.
I see. So I also have a question on that too. Would you say that? Could you give us an example of how you kind of give this direct communication to your audience? Like,
well, I just pay attention to Twitch chat 24/7, regardless of what I do. I try to, well, there are things in MapleStory and like other games that require your full attention. For example, Hard Lucid, right, in MapleStory. But a lot of the time, when I want to stream, I just do like dailies. I do, my just boss runs, training, grinding, and that gives you a lot of time to just look at chat and just really talk to everyone, so.
Let's see. Okay, next question for Mixed Soy Sauce. I actually got a feel for each of their quirks for their channels. Could you give us an example of what your quirk is for your channel?
I feel like there's a huge misconception about MapleStory sometimes, about how the only way that you can progress is sometimes in non-reboot by spending cash, right? But I feel like when you're playing the game consistently and you're always opening up opportunities for yourself, you can actually progress at a reasonable pace, right? To the point where you can enter the end game. Like recently, I just earned my arcane weapon from clearing Heart Lucid for like 3 months straight. But I feel like because people aren't too aware of like how to break down new patches, new events, that they're not able to optimize. And when I'm streaming, I'm showing you guys, all right, this is what someone at the end is thinking about when they see these patch notes. What are the ways to break this event down to get stronger as quickly as possible?
I see. So to me, it sounds like your channel really helps people who want to maximize on events, and it's just really overall very helpful.
Trying to be as informative and as like trying to break through the mindset of this is impossible. We can actually grind this out. We can make this happen here.
I see. That's awesome. Thank you. Okay. If anyone has any further questions, raise your hand.
My question is for all of you, actually. How do you deal with the haters or trollers on your Twitch or YouTube and other form of ways?
I guess I'll start. Most simple way, just ignore them. If they continue to troll or harass, there's always the ban button. So, yeah, that's about it.
Yeah, that's basically it. I don't know, it depends on the mood, you just troll back. People like that when you just talk back. Don't try and be like, super duper mean or anything, but yeah, just again, like Zong said, just, there's a ban button for a reason. They don't have to be there, they don't want to be there, they're just trying to rile you up.
Speaking specifically in regards to like social media representation, I know for you guys running Twitch channels, it's easy to just block or mute somebody, but there are channels like Twitter or other venues where you can't necessarily block everything that people say about you. I think it's important to make a very careful distinction between haters/trollers and people with criticisms. Because there is a very fine line between when someone is complaining about something that you do just because they don't like it, and when someone is complaining because there's a behavior or a personality trait that you exhibit that could be controversial or could otherwise just not be very mature. I think all of us can think of times when we've said or done something that really just, maybe it had a chance of being funny, but it really wasn't in the grand scheme of things. Yeah. And it's important to be aware of that. So the two easiest ways to deal with your specific term for haters and trollers, one, as they said, just don't engage with them. People who are trying to bully, people who are trying to troll are trying to get a response. Whatever the reason is for trying to get the response, if you respond, you are playing into their game. Either best case scenario, nothing comes of it, but they got the attention that they wanted. Worst case scenario, you may say or do something that in response to the troll seems like you're just trolling back, but to everyone else may seem like you're making a very, very, bad statement, possibly even racist or something else like that. So just don't respond to them in the first place. A good rule of thumb, think about whether you want to spend more of your time responding to those who support you or to those who are trying to bring you down. There have been many cases where, you know, I'm sure all of us have times where we like to just see if people are mentioning us on the web, talking about roles we've done, talking about us and our content creation, where I have come across threads of people who are both equally, you know, talking nicely about me and who are also trying to say really mean things. And there's also been a few times where I actually hopped into the thread and started participating, but only responding to the people who are trying to create a positive environment and having a positive conversation. And every single time that I did that, what eventually happened was the people who were trying to naysay and be negative, just no one was replying to them. No one was giving them that attention. And what literally happened was a thread that was equal parts good and bad turned into a positive fan engagement experience that I took control of. So it's really about how you approach the situation. Whenever you're thinking about responding to someone, ask yourself, do I really want to spend this time on this person when I could be spending it building my brand, engaging with positive fans, and creating a better environment for myself and my content in general? Sorry for the 5-minute answer to a 5-second question.
Good answer.
That was great.
Oh no. I guess that when you're dealing with haters and stuff, at least on Twitch, I feel like understand that if you build up a community, that they're there for you, and understand that it's how you make of it, right? If you have to, when you're streaming, you have to deal with the fact that it is the internet, and you have to grow somewhat of a thick skin and understand and feel like while they're there to ruin your day, there's so many people supporting you, and it's always more important to think about the people who support you because they're going to be there whether the haters are there or not. So as you're growing, it just the sport is going to outweigh the trolls and haters regardless.
It is also extremely, extremely important that you not use your position of influence to have your supporters, sorry, if I can just add on. It's also extremely important that you not let your position of influence or power or just basically your control over those who support you be used to try and attack those that you think are being negative or criticizing, even if you think they deserve it. Because that can so very quickly turn into a case where people think you're abusing your power, or folks who may support you may be afraid of speaking up if they have criticisms or concerns. Let individuals be the determiners of their own fate. If they want to say things that may get them in trouble or get them banned or whatever, let them be the ones to hoist themselves upon their own petard. But don't ever take it upon yourself to issue that judgment on them through your supporters, because it's a very dark side path to take. I would not recommend it. Just do your thing and do your thing to the best of your ability, and let your actions and your behavior build your brand for you. Oh, you have to turn it back on. Sorry.
Anyone have questions?
All right, for Zong, we know at the beginning of Reboot, kind of like Matt, you chose the class that you were originally playing in Broa. Matt chose Wild Hunter, you chose Luminous. Matt eventually said, okay, I want to do something different, went to Evan. Why do you continue to do Luminous?
Reason I stayed Luminous was because I actually surpassed my level of funding that I had in Broa at the time. So I figured because I still had all of this gear in Broa, I may as well move it to another mage class. So originally I moved it to Kinesis because Kinesis came out. It was the new mage class at the time. So I played Kinesis for a little bit. And then after Evan got revamped, I moved my gear from my Kinesis to my Evan. And then I was playing on Evan for a while, and then back to Kinesis eventually. But all the while, because I figured there's no real point in moving back to my Lumi, because then I'd have 2 funded Luminuses. And yeah, I just decided to leave my gear on my Kinesis.
So if you could go back and start Reboot over again and choose a completely different class, what would you choose?
I'm thinking
Jet.
Definitely not Jet. Probably Ice Lightning Mage. I think they're a really cool class. They're actually, usually what draws me to classes is how well they can mob. And right now Ice Lightning is an insanely good mobber. They have full map, instant clear, basically. So I'll
That
probably go with
DCs
that.
you.
Sometimes.
Does it really? You might have to bring that up in the next panel that we have. All right, any questions from the audience for our lovely guests? Okay, you have a question in the back?
So, if MapleStory 2 is ever brought to the West, or here I should say, because I don't know where West applies, but if MapleStory 2 comes out, would you guys prioritize that? Would you even play it? What do you guys think? Would you drop MapleStory, or what's your responses?
I feel like it's always interesting to try a new game, especially when it's really fresh. No one's really optimized it yet, and I feel like if that's the case, we'll give MapleStory 2 a shot for sure, or at least I will. And I need to find a class that embodies me, you know? There has to be a class that really resonates with me before I consider like dropping MapleStory 1.
Yeah, I would definitely play MapleStory 2. I think I've already seen gameplay on it, and I've played a little bit of it myself, kind of like starting area. I didn't want to spoil the game entirely for myself, but definitely would play it. Whether or not I would switch from Maple 1 would really determine how fun I'm having. Like that's all that matters to me. Like damage aside, as long as the experience, the gameplay is something that I really want to, you know, dive deep into, then I'm gonna do it, regardless of how much money I've spent already on Maple 1. And yeah, for me, I would just, I'd go Archer because I'm not really a melee kind of guy, even though I do play a few of those classes. I like being a good distance away from my target and just sniping them down.
How much money?
All right, let's not get into that.
All right, so definitely agree with what Chuck and Matt have said. Another big factor for me would be friends. If my friends move over and if they quit MapleStory 1 and I have no one left to play with, then that would influence my decision to go to Maple 2 as well. Yeah, obviously fun factors and yeah, just general enjoyment.
But would that be like your deciding factor with your friends?
Not the deciding factor, but it would be one of the factors.
Okay.
Yeah.
Speaking as someone who doesn't have a career that's directly related to that sort of content creation, where I assume you guys make some of your income straight up from playing this game and streaming it, of course. So there's a conflict for me where I am absolutely a person who goes in hard on games that I am attracted to and classes that I'm attracted to. When Yvonne first came out, like before Big Bang update, it took me 3.5 months to bring it up to, I think, level 193, 194. I just went all in with experience and grinding everything. Same thing with some other MMOs, Dragon Nest. I was a huge fan of the AoE Swordsman. I loved running dungeons time after time after time. I could do the same dungeon instance 30 times in a row and I would not get bored. And then earlier on when Tree of Savior came out, I was on board it from day one, bought all the DLC packs, even doubled up on ones that I could. I think by the time I stopped playing, I still had enough premium account status to last me for 2.5 years. But the thing that holds me back is I can't predict when life is going to get in the way. And it's a great thing to say, oh, I don't have time to play because I'm busy landing work and making money, but I'm also a person who doesn't want to start something unless they know they have the time to make a genuine investment in it. I won't want to start a game unless I know I can put in the time to finish it. It's why it's kind of ironic that I voice in Breath of the Wild, but I legitimately don't think I'll ever get a chance to play it just because of how expansive and big it is. So would I play MapleStory 2? I'm positive that if there's a class, and there likely would be a class that caught my interest, that there would be that gnawing, thrashing desire to take it on and play it just because I love MMOs and interacting in online worlds in general. But I'd have to see what life was like at that moment. If I'm too busy, if I'm landing a lot of work where I wouldn't be able to spend more than 1 to 2 hours a day on it anyway, I wouldn't have the heart for it. I wouldn't want to go in unless I can go in like full power.
I would only play MapleStory 1, just saying. Let the record know that I only play MapleStory 1. Does anyone else have any questions for our guests? Anyone? Okay, we have one in the back.
Yes. This is a two-parter question for all of our panel. First off, if you could change one thing about MapleStory, what would it be? And keyword, one. And second, what is your favorite aspect of MapleStory that keeps you playing?
The one thing I would change about a game that I haven't played in almost 4 years, well, let me ask this. Does the resurrection skill on Yvonne work now?
They removed it.
They removed it.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's gone.
Okay, well, I guess it technically works in that it can't not work. But that was my only gripe at the time that I played it, is when the resurrection skill was there, you couldn't actually transfer to a different area or it would crash the game. So it wasn't fixed by the time life got too busy for me to keep playing. But if they had fixed that, that would have been my only concern. As for why I keep playing, well, the reason why I keep playing the music on my iPod Touch in my car is because MapleStory has really enjoyable music. And I'm going to be honest, there's been a lot of times where I've heard like the Orbis travel music, or I'm going to end up humming the song, but everyone knows their first 999 kill quest in the forest in the trees when you hear da 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 da. It was so calming. Just beating the crap out of mushrooms to such calming music. It was like Four Loko before it got banned. It was a stimulant and a depressant at the same time. So it was just, the music was always one of the most enjoyable parts for me, and I think that's one thing that MapleStory has going on for it. If you can play a game where you hear the same song over and over and over and over and over again as you're grinding for 2, 3, 6 hours, and you're not completely sick of it, that's a good sign. Like, it's a really good sign. There's not many cases where games have songs playing that consistently for that long, and if you can still enjoy it the 300th time that you've heard it, you've got something good going on there.
Definitely agree on the music aspect. That was one of the main things that drew me into MapleStory when I first started playing. Yeah, just the music drew me in, and yeah, I loved it ever since. Going back to the original question, one thing I could change, probably the biggest issue in MapleStory, especially for Reboot, would be pet loot lag, looting items because of, I believe it's because of an unoptimized quest system. It causes a considerable amount of frame lag when you try to pick up a lot of items at once. Yeah, that's the one thing I would definitely prioritize to fix. What was the second part of the question again? Sorry.
What is your favorite aspect that keeps you playing?
Keeps me playing. I just set myself a lot of goals for myself to achieve. So right now I'm trying to get my current character to max level, and then the new class to max level as well when that is released. So I guess I just enjoy the grind. I just
Setting goals is important.
Yes.
I agree.
Yep. Yeah, I just love the grind of MapleStory. Yep.
All right. Myself as well, I love setting myself goals, whether it's just like completing my dailies and trying to get a cube from a boss. Like, it doesn't have to be like anything humongous. It can be just little small things that can lead up to something really big in the end. But I'll kind of go backwards. So what keeps me playing? Upcoming content that we know about. I've been playing this game since '06. So just looking forward to new things is exciting. You know, getting a chance to play it yourself, and my friends. You know, it doesn't have to be IRL friends, but just the friends you make online. They're with you almost day in and day out. Maybe not every day, but just that constant interaction is enough to make you want to continue playing. As for what one thing I would fix, right? We're limited to one, right? Party quests. They're completely irrelevant nowadays, except for a select few, like Dragon Rider, right? you need to do that for your codex. But change up party quests to the point where they give good rewards to our standards right now in 2017. But don't just re-release them, but just like revamp them in general. Like change the HP values, right? And maybe add an extra stage or two that kind of just embodies what MapleStory is today, and not what it was back then.
To add on one quick thing before we go to Chuck, when you were talking about just working with people online, I'm still uncultured on the current MapleStory atmosphere. Is there still a big focus on working in parties to grind, or is it pretty much solo?
No, they removed they've been removing the party aspect like slowly after like the decline of Lionheart Castle, and just really they've added like areas now where you do get party play EXP,
right?
But that in itself needs to be changed to where it's really fair for people solo grinding and people that want to play in a party.
That's a bummer. One of my favorite aspects. I'm sorry to take I was going to say one of my favorite aspects that had me playing was just, I'm sure we've all had those moments back when there was more of a party element where you'd be picking up random group, like completely random group of 4 people you've never met before, and someone would say, I'm about to leave, what percent are you guys at?
Right.
And someone invariably would say, oh, I'm at like 82.3%. And everyone in the group just nonchalantly just immediately decides, you know what? I'll stay here another 39 minutes just to help this person level up, and then I'll head off. And it's just that magic moment of like everyone has their goals. And when you're all working together, everyone had the moments like, you know what, I'll spend this little bit of extra time for these guys because maybe someday I'll be at like 75% and really want to level up before I log off, and they'll just help push me there. And I loved that so much. So sad to hear that they're taking it out. But your turn.
We're hoping to introduce that again.
All right, so in a similar fashion to party quests, I feel like boss rates need to be changed to a point. They're getting better with it, with Heart Lucid and with Ursus, but I feel like there has to be some kind of urgency to party to boss. Because it's more exciting when you like clear bosses that can't just be soloed by like a super strong person. Third phase Heart Lucid was like something I find really exciting and really requires cooperation of like 6 strong team members, right?
Very stressful.
Yes, it's very stressful, but it's also highly like satisfying to accomplish once you do it, right? And I feel like if they continue to make bosses, either revamped or future bosses, to go in that direction, I would really love that. As far as what keeps me coming back to MapleStory, I feel like if there are people there and channels are lively, and if the community on Twitch is also really connecting. It's a really close-knit community for MapleStory. So even if we're not even playing from the same server or server format, we get to like discuss like new tech or new strats for MapleStory, and that's what always like gets me excited, because optimization is super, like, it's super satisfying in a way.
Going off that question, I mean, everything that you guys are talking about, that's kind of what really inspired me to set up this Chaos Root Abyss hard run that you guys did. I know not everyone got to do it, but I too really miss that kind of cooperation, really difficult bosses that put people in stressful situation, teamwork and collaboration. So I'm hoping that when you guys came here today, you guys really got to feel that you guys were working in a party, like really collaborating. I hope so. But if anyone else has any questions?
Add Pictionary to MapleStory.
Pictionary too. Requires a lot of teamwork.
I had something to add on to Chuck, what Chuck said. Like, you as a free-to-play player, like, do you feel like you could ever get to that point where you could actually contribute enough damage to a party just off of being free-to-play in a regular server to clear third phase Lucid?
I feel like there will be a point when I get there, but there's always something that I'm not currently optimizing. Like if I'm not like in the free market, or I'm not doing enough farming of, let's say, dojo or farming cubes to make things, there's always something to improve upon, and with future patches, there's always things that can open up the meta of MapleStory to get to that point.
Yeah.
So with more arcane force for more symbols, that's like, for example, Morris might be released later. Things like that will definitely get me to that point, for
Yeah.
sure.
One of the things that I do like that hard lucid is something that can't be soloed, but I think it's just, in my opinion, a bit excessive because it seems to be at a point to where it widens the gap from free to play and pay to play. But that's just my opinion.
Well, what I personally think is that I feel like players put too much of a focus on clearing content right away, rather than trying to build up to it. You can wait a few patches to clear something and then do it then. But players really want to do it now. Like and that's where that aspect of pay to play comes in, where I'm not able to do it now. And playing an MMO is extremely time consuming, right? When you're as free to play, I'm definitely not free to play, but you have to put so many hours into just getting that little bit of damage here and there that people don't have that kind of time anymore. People want to just it's that instant gratification where you just want something now without having to work too much for it.
I mean, Hard Lotus has been out for quite a while, and that's still one of the things.
Yeah,
that
exactly.
Has been
Hard
challenging.
Lotus is the hardest boss in the game. A lot of people don't know that.
Right.
But Hard Lotus is actually harder than Hard Lucid, and that's been out for ages.
I feel like the fun in it is the actual getting to that point. Like, for example, when I
But
was
can
getting
you
to
get there?
yeah, getting to
Is the
250,
question.
for example, was the long hours, long time talking with friends and stuff. But eventually, I was able to clear CRA, Lotus, Damien, and worked our way up to normal Lucid. It just requires the idea of you have to be in the MMO mindset, especially for a game like MapleStory.
You just have to, like, in my opinion, right? You just kind of have to realize that this is something that you're going to work towards, and it's not going to happen right now.